Peace and blessing, family. It's your man Maarifa, and welcome to another Maarifa moment where knowledge is reborn. Are you ready? Let's go. All right, and we black. Dig, we black for another topic. All right, family, it's your man Maarifa, and we're black again with another great topic for today. We're going to be discussing the Nile Valley language, the Medu Neter. But before we do all of that, you know how we do. We need to get these admin notes out the way, so let's do that quickly. Here, you see in the banner, we need you to like, subscribe, follow, and share all of our social media platforms at Maarifa Asar LLC. The second thing we need you to do is go down in the description right after this video, rush over to maarifaasar.com. I'm rocking a Maarifa Asar gear right now. You dig? You should go ahead and rock it too. Join the knowledge movement and make a purchase today. Give us a thumbs up for this video if you like what you're hearing. Also, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section and subscribe to the channel and share the link for the video as well. All right, let's get into our lesson for today. All right, what is the Medu Neter? All right, let's get into it. The Medu Neter is ancient African script. All right, it's a language from the ancient African Nile Valley culture. All right, coming out of Nubia in the South Sudan, coming up to Lower Kemet in the north, and then stretched, all the way down from Uganda in the Mountain of Moon. You know what I'm saying? This ancient African language was passed down from generation to generation through the mystery school. Okay, and what you see here is all type of symbols and symbology. You see, it all over the walls in Kemet, all the way from Cairo all the way down to Sudan, Uganda. You go down and you can see Medu Neter inscribed on all of the stone walls. And here I am, in the pilgrimage in Kemet. You can see the ancient symbols, and I'm pointing to, a symbol of the cross that you can see there that we consider and know as the cross of today. But that symbol, was way back in the BC era, way before Christianity ever was created, way before Christianity was ever invented, by the Greeks and the Romans. That ancient symbol was on the walls in Africa. Okay, so it had a different meaning completely. So when you go to Kemet, you'll see on the walls and the reliefs, this different symbols, and you wonder to yourself, what do they mean? What were the Africans trying to tell us? All right, so you really don't know what they mean. You're just looking at symbols. And here you see the Rosetta Stone. This stone is what they used to say that they deciphered and were able to come up with an understanding of the hieroglyphics and what they meant. At the top portion of that stone you see there are hieroglyphics, okay, or Medu Neter. In the middle of that stone there's a separate language that is here, that is demonic language. Was the language of the common people of Egypt at that time, and they were using it for commerce and trade and commercial purposes. Okay, so that's how they were communicating back and forth, the common people. All right, and then below that in the bottom is the Coptic language. The Coptics were, Greek, you know what I'm saying, half, bastard children of the Greeks and the Romans and the African mix. Okay, so they were, those bastard children, and they had their own, system that they came up with many centuries later, after the ancient African hieroglyphics came out, during the invasions and the conquering. So they were trying to say that from those three languages that they were able to decipher the meaning of the hieroglyphs. As you can see here on this image, the top portion of the Rosetta Stone is chopped off, so a part or portion of the hieroglyphs is missing, so you can't make that connection. So that's why everything is false on the Rosetta Stone. And you see right here the Kyrie head priests. These Kyrie head priests, bringing, the tribute and the potions and the things from the mystery school, to the Pharaoh king who's on the throne, Sekhmet. And these Kyrie head priests were initiates of the craft. All right, so they were part of the mystery school. It took them 40 years of their life, to be able to go through and graduate through that process of the mystery school. Here they were being taught, trained, and everything under the Egyptian culture. Even in the Bible, they were trying to make it seem like Moses was a part of this mystery school when they said he was learned in the ways of Egypt for 40 years. So they knew that the Africans, had a priesthood, in Kemet, and they were, a part of this mystery school system that they were being taught, about the ancient ways of science, astronomy, astrology, architectural structure, medicine, language, studying, observing of the stars and things of that nature. So they were given all of that knowledge that they were given, they had an understanding of it. Okay. So these priests, as you see, took an oath. And you see on this wall, you see them with the right hand, over their heart, and their left hand is extended in the air, and they on one knee with the apron. This is the oath that they took of the brotherhood. Okay. So this is the first mystery school, the craft, the first men of the craft. Okay. You had to be raised up in the priesthood in order for you to understand and gain this knowledge of the hieroglyphics and Medu Neter that you see on the walls in Kemet. You had to go through that. You couldn't go without that. And here you see, me on a pilgrimage with Ashra, the brother Ashra, was taking some of the other brothers and doing a reenactment of what we saw on the temple walls in Kemet of the Cairo head priests. And they were going through doing a reenactment of what they seen on the walls in Kemet. You know what I'm saying? The brothers were depicting that, and they had the bald heads, just like the Kyrie head priests had the bald heads. So they picked the brothers who were in that crowd to reenact that scene. But you see here the papyrus. The papyrus is the flower that grows the most in ancient Kemet, in lower Kemet. Okay, so the flower, papyrus was extremely important because it allowed them to make paper. Okay, and they had so much papyrus in abundance, they were able to make and create thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of scrolls. All right, as you see right there, it's inscribed on the stone how important the papyrus flower was in ancient Kemet. Okay, and then that scroll then was utilized to write down all the knowledge from the mystery school. Okay, so they had institutions in Kemet, in Egypt, which they were teaching the priests about the ancient knowledge, and they couldn't give that knowledge to anyone unless they were an initiate and they were a part of the craft. Okay, so your pharaoh kings and queens, the noblemen and things of that nature who were part of the craft, they were the only ones who had understanding of the Medu Neter and hieroglyphics on the wall. They knew that language. They had that understanding. They knew what those symbols meant. No one else. And they took an oath as initiates to keep that secret. No one else was given that knowledge. Okay, so they had all of this knowledge that they were writing down in the papyrus, as you can see, and they were putting it into the library, the great library of Alexandria, which is off of the Mediterranean Sea in lower Kemet, over there to the north. Okay, so in Kemet they had a great library, and the Roman invaders came and burned it down in 43 BCE. Julius Caesar and his, evil and wicked army came in, conquered Lower Kemet, invaded the land, and burnt down the library with all of the knowledge of the ancient Africans. So with that knowledge, that went out, and the elders who passed away, all of the priesthood that passed away, all of that ancient knowledge had passed along with them. So the knowledge of the Medu Neter and the hieroglyphs, was gone. There were no one else on the earth to be able to decipher or tell you what those symbols meant. Now, here comes this white European man, thousands of years later, Jean Francis Champollion in the 1800s, AD, long after the fact. Here he is, an opportunist. This guy was an Orientalist, someone who had, great interest in the Bible and trying to connect, and make the Bible valid with ancient Egypt. Okay, so what he tried to do as an Egyptologist, they called this man the father, of the Medu Neter, and he was the father of Egyptology. Okay, which is the study of Egypt. All right. So you see right here, he has his hand inside his coat, which symbolizes that he was a Mason. Okay, so he's a a French Mason who was trying to steal this information from Kemet and make it his own. All right, so Champollion didn't even go into Kemet or Egypt. He took a picture that someone, an Egyptologist or an archaeologist, took back of the Rosetta Stone to him to France, and then he came up with his own, you know, interpretation of what he thought those hieroglyphics were. And here are his students and his disciples. You know what I'm saying? These white European corrupt Egyptologists who had their own agenda to try to push this biblical narrative onto the masses to be able to add validity to that book, the Bible, which they created, the Romans and the Greeks, okay, that Christianity. So they try to, add this validity. You can never trust a white European to, tell anything true about ancient Africans at all, because they have their own agenda. They have their own opportunities that they can take advantage of, because all of the knowledge is dead and gone. The Africans who had that knowledge are gone. They're no longer on the planet. So these white Europeans took the opportunity to go in and create their own language. So what they did was this: they added letters to symbols, to ancient symbols on the walls of Kemet. Okay, so these letters that they inscribed, or subscribe rather, to each symbol in the walls of Kemet allowed them to create words and letters in order for them to be able to read a symbol from a cartouche, or anything that they saw on the walls in Kemet, the hieroglyphs and things of that nature. So this is what they came up with, and you see all the symbology and the different names that they gave to it: the Ankh, the Jed, the Ka, the Ba, Sarah, Wajet. All of these terms that we see here with these vowels in it are all Western European letters or words in which they created. Champollion and his cronies, all of them opportunists, Orientalists, who were trying to add validity to that Bible and come up with a way for them to make a connection back to ancient Africa and that Bible. Okay, so they can try to make it seem like that Bible is true and is valid, from one generation to the next generation. All right, so they created this whole fake concocted, language in which they called the Medu Neter, okay, which was from the hieroglyphs in the walls of Kemet. They never ever spoke to any Africans from Nubia, never ever spoke to any Africans from Uganda, never spoke to any Africans who were a part of the craft, never spoke to any Africans who were initiated as a priest in the mystery school. So they never had any resources in order to gain this knowledge. They never had any real sources for them to go back and say, this is where we got it from, and this is the knowledge that is given to us from these real people who lived it, who actually created it. You know what I'm saying? So he could never decipher anything. It'll be like us bringing Champollion in a time machine into the year 2021 and him going trying to take a driver's exam. He'll never be able to pass it, because he wouldn't know what the symbols mean unless he was taught in the driver school, or he was given the legend of the key, the meaning of what those symbols are. So if he didn't have those, he wouldn't know what these symbols stood for. But we know what they are today because we went through driving school. We know what these symbols mean, okay? You could read this stuff and you could tell. So it's the same way with the hieroglyphs. The ancient Africans only understood, the symbology and what it to be, the priesthood. They were the only ones who understood what the mystery of those particular symbols were. No one else, okay? So Champollion couldn't have done that, but they gave credit and honor to this man. Here he is depicted with a statue in the Cairo Museum, along with a fake replica of that Rosetta Stone, which they said he used in order to decipher the Medu Neter of the ancient Africans. Okay, and they give honor to this man and all those Egyptologists to this day. Their heads and statues are outside of the Cairo Museum, out front in the display right now in 2021, and it's disgusting. So you see here also, which is extremely disgusting, they have Champollion, a statue of him in France, with his foot on the head of an ancient African pharaoh king, and this is telling a generation to come that he was able to conquer a nation, conquer a civilization. You know what I'm saying? This is given a false narrative of what this man accomplished. They don't know that he was a thief, that he was a liar, that he was someone who had misled the people, and someone who has misled an entire generation all because he had his own agenda to push. They won't tell you that story, but they're going to show you like he had made something great and did something positive for a next generation when he didn't. This statue needs to come down and needs to be destroyed today. So what you see here is a good book that I recommend that you go and see, and read is Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James. And he'll break down in detail, all of the research that he had done. He actually conducted research and did his homework. And he'll tell you, in this book, all of the wicked and evil things that these Egyptologists, these white European Egyptologists have done. And they stole all of this knowledge from Kemet and how they used it for their own hidden agenda and their opportunity with the Masonic order. Okay, so he'll break it down and give you that knowledge. I recommend going to read that book. Also, another book I recommend is The Historical Origin of Christianity by Walter Williams. He'll also give you a breakdown and give you all of this knowledge and information about how they came up with this, decipherment and the falsehood about it. So Walter Williams gives a great insight. He did a great research study. This brother, this elder, is someone that you can go ahead and take a look at his research, and he will break down and decipher everything for you and give you this knowledge that you need. So go out and don't believe everything you hear from me. Go do your own research. Go and search for yourself and find this information and this knowledge so that you can educate yourself and know the truth. Man, that Medu Neter boy gets me fired up every time. Okay, you know what I'm saying? I get passionate about my ancient Africans. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of our people have been deceived by Champollion, and what he's done is been a lot of confusion about the Medu Neter. And today, Africans scholars are going through back and forth, picking sides and choosing, you know what I'm saying, and fighting amongst each other, and it's just a mess. We fighting all over this stuff that this white European has done and confused our people. You know what I'm saying? So I get passionate about it. And whenever I study this subject about the Nile Valley language, from the ancient Africans. Okay, so go and seek that knowledge for yourself, and you shall find the truth. All right, about your people and the language in which they spoke. All right, so with that said, we're done with our lesson, you know what I'm saying? So we want a quick reminder. We want you to go ahead and like, subscribe, follow, and share all of our social media platforms at Maarifa Asar LLC. Also, give us a thumbs up, you know what I'm saying, if you like this video, and leave a comment also in the comment section and let us know what you think. All right, so the video's almost done. Rush over to maarifaasar.com. Don't forget, grab you some gear, you know what I'm saying? Get fresh today, and join the knowledge movement. So that's it. You know what I'm saying? This has been another Maarifa moment where knowledge has been reborn. Just remember, the more you know, the more you'll grow, and the better off we all shall be. So until next time, I'll say love and light. Peace. Let's go. All right. We made it. We made it. Live at Seneferu's pyramid. Okay, Seneferu built this